we've got to repeat things over and over again. And then we've got to remind people over and over again. And then we've got to reinforce. And then we have to repeat. We have to keep doing this over and over and over and over again. You know, some of you know that Beth and I recently have purchased a car wash, and we've taken this old, well, it's not real old, but neglected is a better word, and this neglected car wash in our small little town, and we've bought it, and we've been fixing it up, and we've been investing money in a new car wash, and we're also opening up a drive-through convenience store right there on the property where you can pull through, never have to get out of your car and order some really good coffee or fountain drinks or gourmet sodas, and we're going to have some hot food and some snacks, and it's been a lot of work. It's been a lot of fun. And yesterday we were at a food handlers training because in order to serve food, we need to be food handler certified. And so we were sitting all day in this seminar at this hotel conference room learning about how to handle food and what's proper food temperature and what's proper cooling temperature and what's the danger zone for food and what are all these foodborne illnesses. And I'm telling you, after attending that seminar, I never want to go to fast food again, right? But here's the thing. We ended up taking a test, and we don't know if we passed or not. We won't know for 2 or 3 weeks, but there's a lot of stuff that we were learning that I'm like, man, you know what, this is stuff I could really be talking to you about when it comes to leadership. One thing in particular was how you train your employees on good food handling. And there was these 3 R's that showed up, and that is you got to repeat, you have to remind, and you have to reinforce. You have to repeat, you have to remind, and you have to reinforce. It's not just enough to train your employees how to handle food and then walk away. Right, you've got to keep observing and making sure that they are putting their gloves on, right, and they're keeping the food at the right temperature, and you've got to remind them of what's right and what's not right, and then you've got to reinforce. And there's 3 R's for you. I mean, if it's true for food handlers, I think there's some application here for leaders in the church, and that is we've got to repeat things over and over again. And then we've got to remind people over and over again. And then we've got to reinforce. And then we have to repeat. We have to keep doing this over and over and over and over again. It's not just enough to tell your leaders one thing one time. You got to keep going it and going over it and hitting it and hitting it and hitting it. And it's not just enough to remind people why we do this one time. We got to keep reminding them and repeating it and reinforcing it over and over. It's not just enough to tell people how we check kids in and check kids out one time. No, we've got to repeat it. We've got to remind them. We've got to reinforce it. And if we could get into this habit as leaders of repeating and reminding and reinforcing, it could really, really, really impact our ministries for the better. Right, and our leaders would be more trained, and our systems would tighten up. And you know what? It all started with Beth and I sitting in a hotel conference room learning about food handling. So there's 3 R's for you. Repeat, remind, reinforce.